Really good. I mean, I've only been here a day,
Yeah.
but so far so good.
First trip to New Zealand?
First trip to New Zealand. In fact, first trip to the whole southern hemisphere.
Oh, wow.
Never been to this part of the world.
Why is that? Just been too busy up north?
Well, yeah, it's kind of been on the bucket list. I've traveled to Europe. I've traveled, a little bit. I used to play music. Used to tour a lot and stuff like that. But just never sort of had the opportunity.
Okay.
But now being here, I was just telling somebody, it reminds me, there's something really familiar about it because I grew up on an island off the coast of Canada in the Atlantic Ocean, and I expected it to be very exotic and so different. I mean, I've met a lot of people from New Zealand in
So
Canada.
you've obviously worked with people like Manu.
Yeah, I know Manu.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're catching up with next week.
Pardon?
Catching up with them next weekend.
Yeah, he's going to meet us down in Wellington. That should be a good time. Yeah, he's a fun guy.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met him once, and he was a lot shorter than I thought he was going to be.
Hey, people say the same thing about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a long story. I'll give you the quick version. I was playing music. I was, trying to not study for an exam. I was in college at the time. I wrote a song. It became like a hit song on the radio that summer in the small town where I grew up. So not a big hit song in the grand scheme of things, but to us, it was amazing. And so we all said, hey, you know what? I got a great idea. Let's all drop out of university and go on tour with the band. And so, that's what we did. And looking back on it, it's one of the best choices I ever made in my life. So I was involved with that for about 10 years. When that broke up, I had all my eggs in one basket. I got to admit, I didn't really know what I was going to do next. But I had a younger brother living on the other coast in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and he was getting into film stuff. And he had written a lot of scripts, and he had invested his money into buying a good camera, buying some sound gear. And I said, you know what? I just wanted to keep creating, and I'm going to go help him make his movies. So I just put all my stuff I could fit in my truck, drove coast to coast. I think I did it in like 6 days. Yeah, putting in like good 10, solid 10-hour days. But yeah, it's like almost 10,000 kilometers. So yeah, it is insane. But I'd done it a couple of times in the band, right? Touring, so I knew what I was in for. So I get out there, and I expect like I'll be holding a boom mic or helping him however I can. But he didn't really know any other actors, so he needed all the crew to not only be the crew but also be the cast. So everything was kind of comedy based that we were doing, and man, I'm telling you, it was a good time doing comedy. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of room for improv, and we would try to crack each other in scenes and stuff like that. So that was my introduction to acting, and I was like, well, this feels right. This feels like kind of what I was missing from the band. I hadn't had my band for about a year at that point, and so I was like, I'm in. I'm going to try this out. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I was like, I want to see how other people do it. Went to school, just like a little neighborhood scene study class, but I worked really hard in it, and I had really good coaches. And when I came out of that, I got an agent, and I started auditioning, and Arrow was a new show then. It was the second audition I went to, and
That's impressive. That was the second audition.
I mean, I'd paid my dues in the music industry, and I'd put a lot of work in because I was like, I ain't no spring chicken anymore, and if I want to make this a career, I got to work my balls off. I got to work way harder than everybody else, and so I did. I put in a lot of work. I took it very seriously. When everybody else is out partying and drinking and, macking on girls, I was like studying and working, and I lived like an acting monk for a solid year. I said, every single day I'm going to find an excuse to act. If I'm not studying a scene, I'm going to be helping somebody else study a scene. And if I'm not performing, I'm going to be writing, So I said that's what's going to take, and that's what I did. And then I was prepared to go to war with the industry, and stake my claim and find my opportunity. And it was just right in front of me. And sometimes I guess that's the way it is. It's been really positive, man. And I honestly thought my in, because I'd put all my time in comedy, would be through something funny and something comedic, and I would be like the goofy guy. Um, Turns out I'm the guy who shows up and kills everybody and fights everybody and is a total jerk. So I was a little surprised by that.
Fun character to play?
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like the opportunity that was given to me, it couldn't have gone any better. Yeah, I did. Every every bad guy has a reason, you know, that moment that turned you bad. So I really needed to find that. So I started digging, and found sort of like his origin stories, and researched that as much as I could. I didn't really go into the comics to see him when he was already Deadshot because I didn't really want to do an impression of him from the comics. I knew Arrow was going for something more grounded, going for something gritty, kind of trying to do an original feel with it, and I just want to sort of read the scripts and take it as it came and build a character off that. Well, um, season three for Arrow starts up at the end of July. I got another couple of projects I can't really talk about that hopefully I'll get a chance to film this summer. I did a small part in Godzilla that's in theaters right now, but unfortunately they cut all my speaking parts out. So you might see me floating around that if you're watching. I'm one of the soldiers in that. But yeah, I was choked when I found out I didn't make the final cut.